And hello again, this is Philip at thebest3d.com, and today it is my great pleasure to introduce you to a couple of new features that we are releasing in version 4.1. This is what was also known as release candidate number 44, and version 7.1 had an internal code carrot juice, and we are all juiced up now with first of all rotocurves. We'll have a look at that in more detail separately, but essentially what you can do with rotocurves is select an area as a curve with the curve tool, and we'll see some of these in these tutorials like this one here. We selected an area of this monkey just around his back, the head, and over to the arms, and then all around it, and that basically allows us to select a region of interest, in this case the background behind the monkey, that we can then assign to a selection, basically a traveling mat, or perhaps select a bunch of keyframes as the curve evolves and tracks. In this case here, for instance, we have this person, that's our creator, Dan Ritchie, Dog Waffle creator, and as he's moving his head, we will be adjusting the points of the shape. So we can keyframe the curve to follow a particular area of interest and make that a traveling mat, or have it render into the alpha channel each frame as it goes, and that way become something we can use for rotoscoping. So rotoscoping can be used then to perhaps change the background, like replace the background with a new background. That could be a still image or an animation in itself. Or we could also do some special effects, and you'll see some videos on those, turning this guy into some sort of a cloaked, hidden monkey, or some other types of special effects. We can also add some snowfall or rain, and there's some plugins that we provide and some features in Dog Waffle, and there are also some other developers that have made some great snowfall and other tools to further modify the video. So there's a lot of video focus on rotocurves. Animated filters, we've done a few more things in the animated category of filters, including merging all frames, meaning merging the frame of the main sequence with the swap buffer image, and that swap buffer can itself also be an animated swap buffer. So you can merge two images through a selection mask. You can also find a new fill selection, and there's actually a few more we need to add to this list. It's evolving really quickly. Anti-aliasing of drawing tools, that is a new feature. In fact, we can see that here somewhere. We'll get to that when we go step by step. Repairing a dropout, we'll talk about that. Anti-aliasing I mentioned. Oh no, this is actually separate. This is not of the drawing tools, but the special other tools, the circle tool and the lasso tool. And the curve tools now support anti-alias mode. So some visual quality enhancements there as well. Lasso selections, you can now choose a different type of selection mode with the lasso selection tool. And then there is also some improvements in the quick color picker. And that was introduced in 7.0, where you just hit the space bar. In fact, let me just demonstrate that very quickly here. You know, you're doing some drawing here, right? And you say, hey, it's time for a different color. And instead of doing the round trip to the color palette, and you know, there's plenty of those. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't want to ignore those. There are tons of options for different color selection tools, right? But sometimes you just want to stay right focused on the image there. You can zoom in, and you can use the shift and control key to pan around. And as you do that, you really don't want to waste your time going back and forth to a user interface, no matter where that thing is flying. Even if it is something like a floating interface, such as the new color palette that we have here, where, as you know, and you should, you can add your own colors and then smear them around like a real color palette, customize your color selection tool, and then once you're done, you go back to the turkey baster here, or the color picker. So that's one way to select the colors. But now back to what I started, and that is the tool called the quicker color picker, and that's simply selected by hitting the space bar. If you press and hold the space bar, you see this quick color selection tool pop up. The moment that you let go of the space bar, it disappears. So you can go and do some work here in this area, and then you say, I need red. So hit the space bar, hold it down, select red here, drag, let go of the cursor, and let go of your tool, and you now have the red color, right? Not a color, just press the space bar, and you can very quickly work through different colors as you need them. And there's always the right button too. The right button, as you see here, is the white color in this case. This is the primary color that we were working with here. And there's the secondary color, which is currently white. You can paint with that with the right button, so it looks like it's erasing. We're not actually erasing any layer opacity or anything like that here. We're just drawing over it in white. And we still have the left button for primary blue. Now, if we use spacebar with the quick color picker, you can right click in this and drag around, and that will actually set the erase color, the secondary color. As you see now, it's pink, or a little bit darker there, purple. So now I can erase with the right button to purple and draw with the left button to blue. You can also go and select something that's almost white to go back there and of course go back to erasing. If you ever need to switch the two and you want to actually use the left button to draw with white, you can drag and drop these two. That will do a little switcheroo there. So now I'm using the left button. And you also have this one here in the tools palette, which appears here in dual column mode. That's one of the features we've introduced, I think in version 5 or version 6. You can have the window layout give you the option for two column toolbar layout, right? So when you use that rather than this one, this is the default one perhaps when you initially started, but if you have a fairly narrow screen or a screen that's not very high in the vertical direction, you may want to go to the two column toolbar mode, and then that way you see this here. Now down here you got the primary and the secondary color, and you have a little switcheroo toggle here. Click that and that will switch to two. As you do that, you see the blue and the white trade places. Same thing over here, white and blue. So if you click it here on the left, you'll see that change on the right side just the same. That way you can actually have the white or whatever color you have in secondary become the color in primary color, right? Alright, so let's head back to finish our quick introduction to some of the major features that we have in 7.1. Here is the color picker, we just had that. Then there is the color curve editor, and that one of course we select right here, I think under the adjust curves. There it is, right? When you click that, you get a color curve editor, and with that it will adjust all of the colors that you have in your image and allow you to perhaps even add additional control points and do some pretty interesting changes to that. So quick example, let's see if I'm going with a filter to render a plasma noise, and I like to use this one here with the HSV mode, make it a little bit smaller. There you go. And now I'd like to change that a little bit. Let's go and make it full screen or adjust it at least like this. So what you see now, if I'm going to the filter, adjust curves, right, what you see here is you can adjust white level, black, any colors in between, and get some interesting results from that as well. Alright, let's see what else we have. There's a couple of things that are not really visible necessarily, but some improvements in speed or some other places. There's motion tracking, we'll talk about that. Brush keyframer has some enhancements where we now actually use the alpha channel, not just the one that's the selection in the brush, in the custom brush. There is an alpha layer, but the alpha channel at our main image level is now also taken into consideration, so that's a great new feature as well. And talking about animations, that would be this one here, AVI files, load a little bit faster. We've done some optimizations and some other things to make it even more usable. Value only contrast filter, some improvements there. We've had a couple of plugins added or ported into the program or modified. Some of them are standalones that now then turned into the program directly, so they are perhaps a little bit faster. Image stabilizer, great stabilization code. That's actually in the filter. Oh, let me get out of this one here. When we go filter, video, no, where is it? Animated, right? There is a stabilize option right there. Now to use that, you really need a video to begin with. So if you have just a single static image, it's not going to do much for you. But we'll talk about that. We actually have some videos on that already, so go explore on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/pdhowler. P as in project, D as in dog, waffle of course, PD Howler. And that's where you see most of our new videos for PD Howler and also for PD Artist. Let's see what else we got here. So back to our short list, animated swap buffer from animation file. What that means is that you go to the animation menu and you can designate an existing DWA file That's a dog waffle animation. You can designate one of those as the swap buffer. So then you don't have to use just a single static image as the swap buffer image. You can actually use a sequence of images, a frame sequence, an animation, essentially like an AVI file that you convert and save to the WA dog waffle animation format. Remember, these are fairly large files, and but they are very fast to load, especially if you have an SSD, solid state disk. Even with regular 72 RPMs, 7200 or other drives, it'll be really fast to load because there is no compression. It's raw and very fast memory dump, memory load. Alright, let's see what else. To wrap it up here, feedback, selective. I'll let you read this, by the way. There's a few more items that will be added fairly soon. Film strip overhaul and retiming in animation. So there's some frame blading, should be much smoother now. Some nice improvements there. So let's go and explore, and let's start with actually one of the tools that is used with the rotor curves, and that is the curves itself. So the curve tool, as you see, is right there. And when you pull the curve tool, you get this additional toolbar with the tools for creating curves and editing curves, and also having them track the existing image underneath it. So that will start in the next video.